Old Town Alexandria is a historic district located on the other side of the Potomac River from Washington, D.C. The beautifully preserved town is the heart of the city George Washington calls home. Since 1749, the town has been an important colonial port during the colonial, revolutionary, and Civil War period. It served as one of the largest slave trading ports prior to the Civil War and later on was used as a transportation and hospital center for the Union. Today, the revitalized waterfront attracts hundreds of tourists with its cobblestone streets, colonial houses, churches, and museums. John Carlyle was a merchant from Scotland who had immigrated to British colony of Virginia. He became a political figure in Northern Virginia and was one of the first founders of Old Town. Carlyle was met with financial success in America, and finally, in 1747, he decided to marry Sarah Fairfax, who belonged to one of the most influential families in Virginia. Sarah Fairfax was a relative of President George Washington, and both families spent a lot of time together at the Belvoir Plantation located on the west bank of the Potomac River. The Carlyle House is most famous for being selected as the headquarters of British General Edward Braddock during the French and Indian War. Seizing the house for 3 weeks, General Braddock held conventions and meetings to discuss finances of the war and campaigns against the French. The debates and arguments that occurred during these meetings were said to be early examples of the friction between Britain and her American colonies, which would later on eventually lead to the American Revolution. General Braddock left Old Town and was later killed in the Battle of Fort Duquesne. Years after Braddock's departure and Carlyle's death, the house remained known as the Braddock House.
Actually, the conscious of becoming
Years later, the house was occupied by the Green family. James Green was born in Sheffield, England, and immigrated to Alexandria, Virginia. In 1860, James Green completed many renovations to the Carlyle House. He created a hotel in front of the house known as the Mansion House Hotel, which was known as one of the best hotels on the East Coast. With the building of the hotel fronting Fairfax Street, the Carlyle House was no longer visible from the street. At the onset of the Civil War, Union troops occupied the city of Alexandria, including the Mansion House Hotel, converting it to a hospital for Union soldiers after the Battle of Bull Run. Emma Green, a Southern belle, volunteered as a nurse when the Union seized her family's hotel to serve as a hospital during the American Civil War. After the Greens' death in 1880, the hotel and the Carlyle House along with it changed hands frequently. It was not until 1906, when the buildings were bought by Ernest Wagner, that a major restoration of the house as a historic site was commenced. Significant restorations work to the house was undertaken in the early and mid-1970s, and the hotel, also known as the Braddock Hotel, was torn down, once again exposing the Carlyle House to North Fairfax Street. Since 1970, the Carlyle House Historic Park is owned and administered by the Northern Virginia Regional Park Authority and includes 18th century mansion and its gardens. On the National Register of Historic Places, it is architecturally unique as one of only stone 18th century style house in Alexandria.
Tell us what you know about the Carlyle House.
Well, the Carlyle House was built in 1753, and it was occupied by John Carlyle, who is the founder of Alexandria, the city that we live in today. And originally, it was a family hotel. But then during the war, they turned it into a hospital where they helped injured soldiers.
So what do you enjoy most about the house?
Well, I love the history. I love the architecture. I love the grand entrance with the black and white tiles. But I think the thing I like most about the house is the outside. The landscaping is meticulously manicured, and it has beautiful flowers, beautiful trees, and beautiful greenery. Overall, a great landscape.
What do you think the Carlyle House means to Alexandria?
I think it means the foundation. And it also has a lot of history with George Washington. So George Washington would go and visit the house and had a long-standing history with John Carlyle and his family. So between John Carlyle, the founder of Alexandria, and George Washington, who was our first president, it has a lot of history that surrounds it.
For the upcoming PBS show, do you think the Carlyle House will have an impact on the well-being of Alexandria?
Oh, absolutely. I think that combining that great history and showing it to a new generation through a TV show that tries to depict the history of it will definitely not only bring in more tourists to the location, which I'm not too sure if too many people know about it, but it will also bring in some revenue for the city of Alexandria.
What interesting ideas should we know about the Carlyle House?
Well, other than the fact that it went from being a family hotel to a hospital, they also do have walking tours, and they also have Halloween events. So you can go see a haunted tour of the house. Since it was a hospital, who knows what kind of ghosts and goblins you might see.
Do you anticipate going there again soon?
Oh, absolutely. I think we'll probably head out there this weekend if the weather fares well.
What would you leave as last parting remarks about the Carlyle House for all those who are interested?
Well, I would say that if you're a lover of history and a lover of Alexandria and love to learn, that it's definitely something to take a look into.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.